I've been thinking a lot lately about what it means to be a Renaissance woman. I've been striving to find some purpose and some depth and some real energy in life. And I don't know, the phrase Renaissance man came to mind. And when I think of a Renaissance man, it's this guy who does all the things and is deeply intellectual and, strives for depth in his life and cool. I could be what about a Renaissance woman? So I've been thinking a lot about that. But I'm going through these things in life where there are changes and upheavals, and we know that whenever you're going through that it's always kind of difficult because you're upending things and you have to let your nervous system settle into new processes and new things. And I think for me, I've realized that a lot of my purpose is rooted in helping people and self-discovery and kind of the promotion of the utmost self, whether that's for me or for other people. I'm here for both, here for all of it. But the idea of life passing us by and us not really taking it by the reins and leading it, we get to choose what sort of life we lead. And so this concept of Renaissance woman came to mind. It's not novel. I know it's been around. It's a whole thing. Whenever I have these feelings where I want to seek renewal and change, it makes me realize that I need to tap back into this creative side of me. And I think it's really hard for women because we seem to inherently do all the things, right? We kind of are taught by society to do all the things, be all the things, show up in all the ways. And so when it comes to this sense of renewal, we're freaking tired. I don't have time and space for renewal. For me, I think that's really a life force, because that renewal of creativity and that recharging of the sense of self kind of shakes up the mundanity, which is literally the bane of my existence. I cannot stand feeling like I'm in the dregs of anything. So I think of all these women, my friend who's a soccer player and an artist and a therapist and a new wife, and how she consistently shows up for everyone in her life. And I think of my other best friend who's a CrossFitter and she's pregnant and she's continuing to go to work and she still, throws the best football parties with all of her friends for her husband, for his favorite football team. And that's menial. However, it's effort and it's energy and it's something, it's all these different places that energy is being expended. My cousin, who is a mom of two and is the breadwinner of her family, and she's a dietitian and nutritionist, and she's just doing all the things for herself and her family and other people. It's just this life force that she gives to everyone around her. I think of even my grandmother, who was the woman in the business, literally the only one in the business. And she became the top sales person and the entire thing. This was back in the day when that was unheard of. So boss grandmama. And I just think of how much women give in every aspect of their lives so much of themselves that oftentimes we are left with not much to give ourselves. And so this Renaissance woman idea has really just kind of been a calling to me. And I think that when I'm not trying to be anti-patriarchal, I'm not trying to knock men. I'm not saying that they don't also do things. That's not the point. This is not a binary situation. I'm just talking about women here. And I am talking from the space of being a woman who, in lots of times in my life, has felt the need to show up in so many ways for so many people all at the same time, that I've lost myself and I've lost my rootedness in what it means to be me, and sort of kind of gotten swept up in the concept of being the things for other people, that I kind of lose what that means for me. And maybe that's what I'm getting at. Maybe I'm just finding my way back to myself and doing so in a way that's hopefully recharging rather than, heavy and bogging me down. And I think of, I have former students who have reached out to me, and, they're in their late 20s and they love their husbands and they're in this space where they're considering having children and they just don't want to because of what it means for their life and how it changes the trajectory of everything. And what a lovely thing to have children, right? Like that is lovely inherently. However, it is so impactful that oftentimes, both physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, in a modern day society, women are so heavily impacted by having children. And I see the shift. I see it in places. I see it with my current partner, like the value of having a partner who sees you and allows you to show up however you need to show up with grace and understanding, and also is someone who you feel like you can, actually have a true partnership with. You're not going to be left alone to do it on your own. And that's how it should be. But much of society, much of our culture, much of our past, sadly, like historically, it was a dynamic in which the woman was the person who raised the children. And I'm not saying that's always the case, but I am saying that's something that's hard to shake. I am saying that socially, and maybe even like in terms of pressure from society for women, there are feelings there and there is pressure. And so I just feel so much for women who struggle with that concept of whether or not to have children simply because they know how it's going to like upend their life. And it could upend it in lovely ways. And that's likely. But that unknown, that uncertainty, and the fear of the other side of things, of like an absolute question that is undeniably life altering. I just think that's like such a big deal when you're considering it as a woman. Not as a big deal for a man. Again, not binary here. Something that I've like really looked at is going back to the Renaissance. Let me get on my like teacher brain here. But the Renaissance was this time of like, after the literal dark ages. So it was like this sense of renewal and coming to life and kind of having lots of creativity. And good old Leonardo da Vinci. I don't know if you saw my lovely mug on the Mona Lisa. But Leonardo da Vinci was all about this idea that learning is something that is going to just allow for perpetual growth in the mind. He literally said learning never exhausts the mind. And so while that's coming from a man, like how beautiful to continue to learn ourselves, how beautiful to continue to just become who we are supposed to become. There is no end to this becoming, right? This is like a constant in life. We're constantly changing. Our purpose is to become, and that's renewed daily. And so when I'm thinking about where I'm at in life and kind of what this means and how I'm searching for this sense of place and purpose, I realize that I need to focus on this sense of community with other women who are also creative and also vulnerable and also seeking for some depth in community. And I know that that might mean stepping out of my current role. That might mean being uncomfortable. That might mean pushing myself to boundaries that I've not explored before. And I believe that if I were to do that, then there are good things that come no matter what on the other side, even though it doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment. If you push yourself past certain boundaries, eventually, good things can come, and the whole concept of like saying yes more. That's the thing, right? Like you're allowing more things into your life because more beauty can spring from those things. And I think I love me some Mary Oliver. You can ask any of my friends. Mary O is my girl. And so she like has this question, this pondering in one of her poems. And it says, I'm paraphrasing here, but what are we to do with this one wild and precious life? And that's true. It is wild. It's untamed. It's uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen day in and day out, but we're going to live it. And it is precious because it's the one we have, and it's the only one we're ever going to have. And so I'm just like in this quandary right now in life where I'm not saying I'm unhappy, but I am saying I'm unfulfilled. And to me, that's just not good enough. And so in this search for fulfillment, I am going to aim to be a Renaissance woman. I'm going to renew myself. I'm going to align myself with my purpose and my values. And that may be really difficult because, frankly, I'm not exactly sure what those are. But in the search, I think that it's like a wellspring of offering for things that not already exist in life. And if I'm not fulfilled now, then it can only possibly lead to further fulfillment. This may seem like a really time-consuming concept. And that is the one thing we do not have is time, right? Like, we're spread thin as it is. Maybe I could stop scrolling some. But I'm considering just like 30 minutes a day of slowing down and really just, starting at 30 minutes. What does that look like? What does it mean to turn into myself? I'm not talking, maybe it includes meditation, but like just really tapping in to where I am, how I'm feeling, and looking at the trajectory that my life is currently on, and just asking myself, is this the life I want to live? Is this the impact I want to have? Are these the people that I want to surround myself with? Am I aligning with my purpose? Am I seeking out my values? And if I can answer those questions along the way, I truly believe that it's just going to further guide me to where I will feel fulfilled. And isn't that the goal? We're here to lead our lives, not let it lead us. And this Renaissance woman is on a quest, and I'm going to relearn myself. I'm going to seek out what it means to be me and what it means to show up the way that I want and need to live the best life. And I challenge you to do the same. Yeah, I said it. I challenge you to seek who you really are and how you really need to show up, and know that you are valuable, and wherever you are is enough, and it's only up from here. But we just gotta put in the effort and maybe feel a little uncomfortable, get a little vulnerable. But when we go onto the depth, that's where things grow, right? Like, that's where seeds like blossom. It's where seeds crack open and become what they're gonna become. When they turn in, good things are coming. So how's that for being a Renaissance woman?